gonorrhea is very dangerous for your baby, and if it doesn't cause you a miscarriage, then when you give birth to your baby, it can be passed on to the baby. What's up, beautiful people? Welcome to another exciting episode of TTC Diaries with Dr. O. You already know. Yeah, don't mind me, I'm just being silly. We started discussing the topic last week, okay? We started talking about the topic of miscarriage and what could possibly cause a miscarriage or what could put you at risk of a miscarriage. So now we know what to avoid when we get pregnant, okay? We know what not to do, what not to take, and those kind of things. And we know the precautions we need to take when we get pregnant. But digging deeper into this topic of causes of miscarriage, I want to focus on infections, because infections are a very common thing that people are exposed to, right? And pregnant women too are exposed to a variety of infections. In fact, before you get pregnant, people are exposed to infections, right? So you need to know how to protect yourself, right, from these infections I'm going to talk about, right? Or how to treat them so that they don't affect your pregnancy. So what are we talking about? We're talking about common infections that could lead to a miscarriage. Stay tuned. So the first infection that I want to discuss is something that is very common in Africa. So for people that live in Africa, you are probably familiar with this, and it is called malaria. So malaria infection, as you know, malaria is an infection caused by a parasite. It could be Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium vivax, and it's normally the vector or the carrier of the parasite is mosquito, specifically the female Anopheles mosquito. So when the mosquito bites you, it transmits the parasite into your bloodstream, and then it multiplies and then it gets infected, basically. Many people don't know because, in Africa, we take malaria for granted, just take a few tablets and you're okay and all that. But malaria is very dangerous for pregnant women because it could lead to a miscarriage. So you're carrying pregnancy and all that, and you have malaria, and if it's not properly treated, or if it's not treated at all, you are at risk of having a miscarriage. Not only that, you could actually pass malaria on to the baby. If you don't have a miscarriage, the baby could get malaria, and that could lead to other complications, which trust me, you don't want to deal with. So next time you are pregnant, right, don't take it for granted if you have malaria. Go to a doctor and get it treated. In Africa, for pregnant women, we have intermittent preventive treatment for malaria, right? So that you don't have malaria. That's the only time where you need to take drugs to prevent malaria. Your obstetrician would have started giving you drugs for preventing malaria right throughout your pregnancy. Make sure you don't take any of these drugs, because malaria can be dangerous for pregnant women. Don't take malaria for granted. One of the ways you can prevent having malaria is, of course, using a mosquito net, right? Insecticide-treated mosquito net. Sleep under it, prevents getting mosquito bites. When you go outside, especially late in the evenings, wear clothing that covers you properly so that you don't get bitten by mosquitoes. Avoid living in swampy areas or having like flooded areas and all this around you, because it's a breeding site for mosquitoes, right? So today is not about malaria, so I'm going to stop right there. Another infection that could put you at risk of a miscarriage. This one is a sexually transmitted infection. It is known as syphilis. Syphilis is a sexually transmitted infection, and normally it's difficult to treat, right? So normally when you go for your antenatal, one of the infections that your doctor will test you for during your antenatal is syphilis, because it's dangerous in pregnancy. It leads to a miscarriage, right? So you want to make sure that if you have this, you are treated immediately so it doesn't affect your pregnancy. So basically, the best time to treat it is even before you get pregnant, right? Treat it so that when you get pregnant, there are no complications. But if peradventure you now get the syphilis after pregnancy or during pregnancy, then you need to speak with your doctor to get it treated as well, so you don't have miscarriage and many other complications that come with syphilis. The next infection also that is a culprit happens to be a sexually transmitted infection, and this one is called gonorrhea. Gonorrhea is also caused by a bacteria, and this one is very common. In fact, some people have it and they may not even have any symptoms. Some will have symptoms like foul spreading, vaginal discharge, low abdominal pain and all that, right? But just know that gonorrhea is very dangerous for your baby, and if it doesn't cause you a miscarriage, then when you give birth to your baby, it can be passed on to the baby, right? So, and this is like ophthalmic gonorrhea. So that's why when people have gonorrhea, if they successfully birth the baby, they don't have any miscarriage, they have to give them silver nitrate eye drops, that's the babies, to prevent them from having ophthalmic gonorrhea. So gonorrhea is not a nice thing. It's not a good thing in pregnancy. So please don't take the infection for granted. If you have it, don't feel ashamed. See, doctors say these things every day, right? Walk up to your doctor, let them know that I'm expressing these symptoms. I think I might have this, or can you check me? I think I might be, I might have an infection and all that, right? And whatever medication that they're going to give you for the treatment of gonorrhea, make sure you comply, because it's in your best interest, it's in your baby's best interest. Another infection I want to talk about, which can lead to a miscarriage. This one is not necessarily a sexually transmitted infection, but is a genital tract infection. And as harmless as it sounds, it could actually lead to a miscarriage, and this one is called bacterial vaginosis. So one of the ways you can know if you have bacterial vaginosis is when you have your vaginal discharge has a fishy smell. It has a characteristic fishy smell. You can't miss it. When your vaginal discharge or your panties are consistently or constantly smelling of fish, and like I said before, you didn't put fish down there, then you might want to go for a test. It means that you probably have bacterial vaginosis, and bacterial vaginosis is harmful for your pregnancy. It might sound mild, oh yes, it's not sexually transmitted or whatever, but it could lead to a miscarriage. So don't take it for granted. If you notice anything unusual, see a doctor and get it treated immediately. The last infection I would like to talk about is one that is very popular. It's quite common. People that have it are usually stigmatized and they're normally ashamed to talk about it, but it's very important to talk about it. In fact, in all antenatal clinics, when you first of all start your antenatal, so for people that don't live in Africa, another name for antenatal is prenatal. So prenatal and antenatal, they mean the same thing and they are used interchangeably. So basically, if you go for any prenatal clinic, they would always test you for HIV. In your own interest, and of course in the interest of the medical personnel that are going to be handling your delivery and all that, right? They need to be able to protect themselves as well and protect you, because HIV is dangerous for your baby, right? HIV could actually lead to a miscarriage. Most people never even know they have HIV because they usually don't test, and it's now when they go for the routine prenatal test that they now see that they've been diagnosed of HIV, right? And it can be really shocking for them, like, oh, I'm pregnant, I'm happy, and then the next second I find out I have HIV. Just remember that HIV is not a death sentence. People have been living comfortably, healthy lives with HIV for many years, so it doesn't mean you're going to die anytime soon, right? As long as you're taking your antiretroviral drugs, you'll be fine. So because you know HIV can cause a miscarriage, I said that many other complications to the baby and even to you. If you are diagnosed of HIV, don't feel ashamed, right? Just comply with doctor's instructions. Seek your antiretroviral drugs to prevent transmitting HIV to your baby, because yes, you can have HIV without transmitting it to your baby as long as you're taking your antiretroviral drugs and the baby gets their own antiretroviral drugs immediately after birth, right? You can live a healthy life on antiretroviral drugs, right? So make sure you get treated immediately so you don't suffer a miscarriage. And when you successfully give birth, make sure your baby gets the necessary antiretroviral drugs or antiretroviral treatment, and you continue taking yours because you need to stay alive for your baby. But one thing you should never forget to do, if you find yourself in this situation, please let your partner know, because it is not fair for you to get treated while your partner is not getting treated. I've seen this so many times. Pregnant women are diagnosed with HIV at the point of their prenatal testing and they don't tell their partners. And unfortunately, doctor cannot really tell your partner because it's a breach of confidentiality. So it's up to you to reveal to your partner that I have HIV, you need to get tested because you might have HIV too, right? Your baby needs both the father and the mother to be alive, right? To have a wholesome childhood. So please do yourself a favor, do your baby a favor. And if you test positive for HIV, please let your partner know so your partner can get treated as well. If they need counseling, to let them know that, okay, because my wife got tested first and it was discovered in my wife first, it doesn't mean it's coming from my wife now. It doesn't mean my wife gave me HIV. At the same time, just because, let's even assume HIV came from the wife, it doesn't mean that she was promiscuous. It doesn't mean that she had multiple sexual partners. There are so many other ways HIV can be transmitted, like blood transfusion, sharing needles, sharing clippers at barbing salon, sharing manicure, pedicure kits, all those kind of things. There are ways that HIV can be transmitted. So it's not every time that it was sexually transmitted, right? You need to always keep this at the back of your mind. Most important thing is you get treatment. Most important thing is that your partner gets treatment and your baby gets the necessary antiretroviral treatment so that you don't transmit it to your baby. It has been a really, 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 really long episode, right? But we finally come to the end. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video so far, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe and share with anyone you think might need to see this. Always remember, you are not alone on this journey to pregnancy. Just keep your eyes on the prize and your baby will be here sooner than you think. See you next week.